Hidden deep in the depths of the PlayStation Talents initiative is Jade's Ascension. It's since made its way to PC and other consoles, but it's a 1 to 4 player local cooperative arena shooter game. And the reason why I picked this up is because it's all based on Chinese elemental mythology. The idea behind this is that once you choose your character, you dive into one of 4 elemental towers: earth, wind, fire, and water. And each one has its own elemental boss at the top. The way how this game plays is that each level of a tower consists of waves of enemies that you need to kill, and you'll do this by running around with the left stick, aiming with the right stick, and using a trigger button to shoot away. You can also collect additional bombs and an additional shield to try and help you out through shops as you go, but when you clear the level, you then get to decide whether you want to collectively ascend the tower to the next level and get a different selection of enemies, probably faster, more powerful, and more of them. Or you can get a randomised portal to a different elemental tower to leap across and start ascending that one. This brings an interesting strategic twist to Jade's Ascension that I quite liked. You can choose to stick in one place and really get to grips with that specific enemy type, and then kill that boss quite quickly. And in theory, I don't know if it's reality or not, but those bosses would be weaker, or you would be more attuned to them so that you can then kill them quicker. However, you won't have killed many enemies on the way, and so you won't have collected much gold, which when you appear at shops allows you to buy more bombs and shields, but also upgrade the amount of HP you have with hearts, upgrade your attack damage, and crucially your attack range, which is a key component in this game, because you can make your character's fire attack really go far across the map to almost the other side, and that becomes crucial because the higher you go up the tower, the more enemies become aggressive and just start charging at you in numbers, and it starts to become one of those games where you constantly run backwards while shooting. And I quite like those games. They're very easy to understand and survive usually until you get overwhelmed, and Jade's Ascension tries to go down that route but doesn't quite make it that far because it's not as hardcore as some of the other arena shooters that are out there, and so kind of stays in the I can still survive territory. I do have some problems though with Jade's Ascension, from its moment to gameplay to its weird inconsiderateness of the player's time. So firstly, addressing the way how this game plays. Your character's feet never touch the floor. They float around, they feel disconnected from the environments, it all feels a little bit low rent and shabby. The problem with this is that you then are floaty control-wise as you move around, and sometimes because you're off the floor, you aren't quite sure if a projectile is going to hit you or not, because you can't quite get your bearings perfectly on where you actually are on the map. You do get used to this over time, but it always felt very low budget and slightly too floaty for its own good. The second problem around not appreciating the player's time is that the game's length seems to be wildly dynamic and all over the place, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. Sometimes I play this game and the bosses start to appear at like level 5 and level 10, and I'm like, what? Hang on. Then other times it's level 20 or 35, and I was trying to work out if there's some kind of formula for when bosses appear, and I can't seem to work it out. Because another time I was playing and I reached 160th level, and I'd only seen one of the 4 bosses, and I was getting really, really bored, and I'd run out of time, and I'd had to pause it and kind of come back because you can't leave mid-run. It was a mess. And so, because you get no inkling of when this game's going to be over, and because it's easy enough that you don't really die unless you start to pay like poor attention to the game around you because you're probably half asleep, you kind of get stuck in this loop of when's it going to end. So I don't know if that's a bug or a feature, but it's very annoying, and it's one of the reasons why I don't really recommend Jade's Ascension outside of people who have an absolute love of this genre and will pick up most of them. I came here mainly for the theming. It doesn't really carry across apart from some nice coloured environments and some bosses that kind of lean into Chinese mythology and elemental damage attacks. Outside of that though, this is a very bare bones and basic arena twin stick shooter, and there are tons more out here that are better themed, feel better, play better, and respect your time better. So I wouldn't recommend Jade's Ascension. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.